Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I am Sabrina Daly
And
and
I'm Paul Lopez.
good morning, Paul.
Good
It's so
morning.
nice to be here with you this morning again on a lovely Thursday.
It's so nice to be here, Sabrina. I feel like it's been some time that
I
I've been
know.
sitting in this couch, but definitely I always miss being here when I'm out, and when I get to be back, it's always exciting because I know that our viewers look forward to these discussions every morning. And then especially on Thursday morning when I'm on,
Especially.
people tune in, the numbers go through the roof. I can
know,
tell you
I
that
know.
for sure.
We see the numbers ourselves.
I'm,
but
I'm
nonetheless,
totally kidding. But nonetheless, Sabrina, you know we start our mornings every morning with what's buzzing. And these are basically a brief overview. This is basically a brief overview of some of the stories and highlights from the day before. And so last night at the top of our news, we're talking about Women's Month, and it appears as if a PUP counselor allegedly left a stain on the People's United Party at the start of Women's Month. Now it's an allegation that a PUP counselor, and we published his name in our newscast last night, Moises Kal. This is, as I understand, his first term at the PG Town Council, the Punta Gorda Town Council, and it is alleged that he physically attacked a woman. I believe it is a common law that he physically attacked. That's the allegation. And you heard the news when it broke, and people were thinking, man, one is Women's Month, and two, this is a community leader, someone who placed his name on a ballot saying, I pledge in a sense to uphold the honor and duty that this office comes with, the character and the responsibility that this comes with. And undoubtedly now to have such an allegation against you not only stains your image, but it also stains the image of your council and that of your party. And so we saw what perhaps some are calling an extraordinary response from the larger organization, the People's United Party, calling for his resignation, asking that he resigns from the town council. Yesterday we heard from the People's United Party's Henry Charles Usher, who when they asked if if the councillor would be removed from the party, him basically responded saying that there's only perhaps like a year away from holding another municipal elections. Therefore, there may be no need for him to be expelled and then for by-elections to be held. But they're hoping that he does in fact acknowledge the letter to request for him to step down, and that he in fact does so. But I mean, talk about the level of accountability that and the level of responsibility that you have as a community leader, as a leader, when you decide to put your name on that ballot. You are not exempted from scrutiny, and especially this type of public scrutiny. And we've seen where our leaders are held in high regard and where their actions and behaviors are placed under microscopes,
Yeah.
telescopes even. And so, so this is one of those things that we'll have to continue to watch. I know that the video continues to circulate.
Yes, a video was circulating on social media, and viewers would have been able to see what looked like some sort of a disagreement between the counselor and the woman. But nonetheless,
in that video, though, Sabrina, it appeared as if the woman
was aggressing
was
the
the
man.
aggressor.
Yes.
And that video doesn't show evidence of him
Exactly.
responding in a retaliatory or physical manner. And so I understand that's only a portion of what transpired. So again, there's things to discuss here. What does a man do when a woman physically attacks him? What should a man do? There's two sides to that argument. One might say, well, if a woman hits you, then you hit her back. I don't condone that. Honestly, that's not my approach. And then others would say, you're the stronger one.
Yeah.
You should walk away from that situation. But that's the situation that Counselor Moises Cal finds himself in. And it is one that is sad, regrettable for a leader, and he would have to face the repercussions of these allegations. Sabrina, I wanted to move quickly into our second topic, if you would let me move into that, and that's teachers and public servants. So yesterday it was officially announced that all their fighting, all their protest, that all their public outcry leading up to the presentation of the budget, which is scheduled for this Friday, has yielded some positive results for public servants and teachers. What is that? Well, yesterday it was officially announced that their increments will be unfrozen by the demanded April 1st. So that's some good news for our teachers and public servants. Teachers are public servants in essence. And we know that those increments have been frozen for the better part of the last 4 years under the UDP administration, and then going right into the PUP administration, who just continued with those frozen increments. A huge deal for teachers, a huge deal for public servants, given inflation, given the high cost of goods, given the cost of gas, given the cost of transport. And so I believe it's a welcome announcement.
Welcome news, yes.
Welcome news for teachers and public servants. And I could only imagine that with this decision, a lot of effects or a lot of consequences or ramifications are being avoided, such as a mass protest, such as schools being shut down, something we can't afford, such as go-slows in these public offices, another a halt or some sort of interruption to public service, all types of things we can't afford in an economy that we are seeking to rebound. So what's buzzing? These are some of the things that are happening right here. But of course, you can catch more on these stories and other stories tonight in our newscast.
That's right. Thank you so much, Paul, for giving us an update on all things that are buzzing here in Belize. Of course, as he rightly mentioned, you can catch that and more on our 6 o'clock newscast right here on Channel 5.
Yeah.
Of course, we will be continuing the show, though, with a positive message.
Of course.
And that is taken from dailyom.com, and it goes like this. We always have the option to not participate in negativity or to find a way to create a positive direction instead. Sometimes we start out with the best intentions to think and speak only positive thoughts, but the people around us throw us off course. Not everyone fully understands the power our thoughts and words have, or even if they do, they may be stuck in old patterns of negativity. Much of our habitual communications takes the form of complaining and criticizing. In the right company, you may be able to directly acknowledge the fact that things have taken a negative turn, thus freeing yourself and others from the negative pull. A powerful way to free yourself from the negative pull is to enlist allies who are similarly minded. The power of two people working to promote the positive is exponentially greater than one person working on their own. As you and your allies work together to lift the energy around you, you will be amazed to see how quickly the positive pull begins to draw people into its orbit, freeing one mind after another from negativity into light.
What's your thoughts?
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
I have to say, I think this really, and you know what's so funny, because every time I hear these, every time we read these messages, these positive messages, I feel like I gravitate to something or maybe all of it. And I have to say that I absolutely feel like this resonates with me because I'm always speaking about the company that you keep, the thoughts that you have, and speaking kindness and remembering the power of the tongue.
Yeah.
Of course, that goes, that speaks to how you speak about others, but also how you speak about yourself. So I think it's extremely important to surround yourself with people that can frame your mind as positively as possible. And it may sound so easy, but I'll tell you, Paul, it's really challenging because especially when we're thinking about speaking negatively to ourselves, that's the hardest part. We are our biggest critics. So I think it really starts with your surrounding, the people that you surround yourself with, the things that you consume, especially in your mind. I mean, food for thought, you know, it's a big thing. So the types of things that you consume in your thoughts, it really shapes who you become.
Yeah, I think, and I appreciate your perspective. To add to it, I think of it as building a house.
Yeah.
You know, you're building a house of positivity, of a right outlook wherever you go. So if I'm here, if I'm in the office, if I'm out at the bus terminal, at the market, building a house of positivity.
Yeah.
You alone can lay bricks. You alone can plaster that house. It will be hard work, and it will take you a long time. You may get discouraged along the way, and in some instances, you may even want to give up.
Yeah.
But when you bring others along with the same mindset, with the same vision, to see that house of positivity built with the same passion that you have, and they come alongside you and they begin to lay blocks alongside you, and they begin to plaster and to paint the house alongside you, it's much easier. And with double less the time, or half the time, you'll be able to build that house of positivity. And so it takes teamwork. And what this is telling you, yeah, you might be willing to create that light or that sparkle within your space by yourself, but this is encouraging you to go out today and find others with the same mindset and with the same vision, and you guys begin to do that together. You guys begin to create that positivity within your environment together.
I love that it spoke about you have the choice.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of times for instance, you might be surrounded, perhaps maybe growing up in a surrounding where it's not very positive, but it's a mindset. You have the choice. So I really appreciate that this particular message spoke about free will. It spoke about us taking that step, making that decision to surround ourselves with positive people, with positive thinking. And it really starts with one decision, you know.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, it's not something that is easy to do. It's easier said than done, especially like I mentioned, when you're trying to work from within. The inner work is always the hardest part, right? So I absolutely appreciate this message, and I hope that our viewers got something from it, even if it was just one small thing about how you can take that extra step to build on yourself, to surround yourself with positive people and positive thinking.
Yeah, well, I think we have the weather now. Let's see if we
Yes.
get some positive news.
Let's see if we
Sabrina.
get some positive weather this morning. Good morning, Shayna.
Good morning.
How
Good
are you?
morning.
Hello.
Sorry? Hello.
Yes, yes, we are looking for some good news, some positive news for the weather.
Okay, well, conditions will continue fair and warm over the next couple of days
Okay.
going into the weekend.
Is there, can you give us an idea of what the wind and the sea state will be looking like?
So the winds will continue from the east over the next few days at 5 to 15 knots, so the sea will be slight.
And the general outlook?
Like I said before, mainly fair and mostly dry conditions will prevail. There is a possibility of maybe isolated showers over some southern locations, mostly at nighttime and early morning, but elsewhere, little to no rainfall is expected, and the similar pattern is expected and getting drier as the weekend approaches.
Okay, nice, because we do have work to do this weekend. What are the temperatures that we can expect?
High temperatures today along the coast will be 85 degrees Fahrenheit, inland 90, and only 77 up in the mountains. And tonight's low temperatures will be 77 along the coast, 68 inland, and 64 in the mountains.
And our astronomical conditions?
There will be a high tide this morning at 11:07, followed by a low tide at 5:36 this evening. And the sun rose this morning at 6:05 and will set at 6:01 this evening. And then tonight, the moon will rise at 8 p.m.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Shayna. It looks like we can expect some relatively good weather. Like I
Yeah.
said, we do have work over the weekend, so we hope for good weather.
Yes, it will be.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
All right, so there you had it, Sabrina. We're going to get some good weather this weekend. But of course, we want to jump right in
Yes.
to our show for this morning.
Yes, Paul, and I have to say, you're in the hot seat this morning.
I am. And listen, I am super excited when the producer informed me that I will be surrounded for the most of this morning by a host of beautiful
Yes,
women.
yes, beautiful women.
Right.
And I'll give you a heads up. I mean, if I could give you any advice, it's to make sure that you agree with everything we say this morning.
Well,
We say no wrong things.
I'm always
during
wrong,
Women Month.
and
Exactly.
women are always right.
Women,
That's-
we are always right,
that's-
Paul.
I-
but
I'm
especially
prepared.
during Women's Month.
Of course, and I'm prepared for that. And so this morning, I think what the most of our show is going to be about is, of course, on the topic Women's Month and gender equality, embracing equality.
Yeah.
And I know last week you guys had an
Equity.
amazing equity. I know last week you guys had an amazing conversation. How was that?
Oh my gosh, Paul, it was absolutely wonderful. I mean, that goes without saying, just being surrounded by powerful women on its own. We had young women with us, we had older women with us, and it was a really interesting conversation because we got to hear different perspectives on what it's like being a woman. We touched on different topics of women then versus women now, expectations of a woman, what is our idea of gender equity versus gender equality, and kind of what that is confused to be at times. And that's why I think it's so important to really talk about this year's theme, which is embracing gender equity, because I believe that persons still have an idea that we are fighting for equality when, I mean, of course we do want equal rights, but I think the conversation is steered more towards equity, and we will be dissecting what that is over the month. Like we did mention, you can expect these panel discussions every Thursday for the month of March, which is Women's Month. So there's a whole bunch of things that we talked about. We even got a little bit personal and touched on the
Really?
more unconventional conversations, especially on TV.
Oh,
but
my.
I think it was so important to have, because these are the realities that women face.
Yeah.
We are segregated. We are objectified. So it was so important, and I'm hoping that you don't get a little bit too uncomfortable. But I think it will be great to still have you here, because we would like your input on what you guys, I guess, determine to be the challenges women face and to see if you think exactly like we do. And if you don't, of course, we will just roll you out of the set of the studio.
Well, I mean, I don't intend to get myself in trouble
yeah.
today, right? And so that's one thing. But in our first conversation, which is the panel discussion, Sabrina, what we're going to do is we're going to have 4 panelists, right? And those panelists include Audrey Matura, who's no stranger to Belizeans. We're also going to have
Martine King, and she's a mental health practitioner.
And we're also going to have Jalen Craig, who's the founder and director of Modern Dance Movement.
And we will be also having a youth representative, Ms. Sitna Blees, and she is the UN Youth Representative and Rural Community Development Officer.
The interesting questions that will be asked, there's 2 questions that we'll focus on, right, as thematic questions. The first, are we leaders? Listen, trouble. The second question, of course.
I mean, there will be more than 2 questions.
Of course,
yes.
These are the thematic questions,
yes,
of course.
But one of the other questions, which were questions that we did focus on last week, it was, how have women's experience differ by ethnicity and culture? And then again, why do you think with all the progress women have made, we still struggle to see women in leadership? So that is, I think, one of the more interesting conversations we're having this week. We didn't exactly touch on that last week, but of course we will be touching on as many topics as possible over the month, over the course of the month. So those are things that you can expect. We invite our viewers to drop comments online. We will be looking and we will be asking your questions for you. So please feel free to ask questions on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube page. And we will be engaging everyone. So this morning, it's all about women. But of course, we will be closing off with another discussion as well.
Of course, and I was going to introduce that one. We'll be closing off with the Pathlight Scholarship Opportunity. So we'll have our folks over from Pathlight in our third and final segment. But I think we're going to go to a break now, Sabrina.
Yes. So when we come back, we will be putting everyone, including Paul, in the hot seat and talking all things women. Don't go away.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
You could still come over though. You could watch a movie or something.
Oh my god, I can't believe this happened.
Under the bed or in the closet? Which one?
I got 3 boys. I need them to be better men than me. I mean, better men than we.
Please don't go wind up.
Who has stopped me? Hello? Who has stopped me? Which one I want to?
For We Family Season 2 at 8 p.m. on Channel 5 and on News 5 Live's Facebook page. Brought to you by the National Commission for Families and Children in collaboration with the National Parenting Task Force and UNICEF.
Sign up for Smart Share Plan and save big. Whether you're a small entrepreneur starting up your business, a student on a limited budget, or a family trying to save, this is the plan for you. With unlimited SMS, calls, and data, we help you save. Get up to 5 lines for as low as $30 per line monthly, only with Smart. Sign up today at any Smart showroom or sales manager countrywide. So get your business going, share more memories with friends, and be ready for the day with Smart.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Marian Ali, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 police teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 believes on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because news is now everywhere, all the time, and so are we.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
Do you have information about a crime or a fugitive in our community? You can submit a tip anonymously with your smartphone. Using this program in safeguarding our community also protects your identity, keeping you out of the court system, and could earn you a cash reward. Here is how it works. Download the free P3 Tips app from the Apple Store or Android Market. P3 is the provider of our secure anonymous tip collecting software. Open the app and create a PIN, but be sure to remember that number, then select your location. Next, select the type of crime. When submitting a tip, be as specific as possible. If you have a picture, video, or audio that will help officers, you can upload them from your phone. Information leading to an arrest can earn you a cash reward of up to $1,000. Once your tip is submitted, you'll be given a tip ID and password. Check back if your tip leads to an arrest. You'll be told how much you were rewarded and how to anonymously collect your cash.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
We will never give up the fight. Feel the temperature rise, souls intensify. It's time that we realize that we must work together to thrive. The world as we know it, the sky and below it. Could I never have more wonder? Yeah, with life and all you see and the climate's changing.
But hope is remaining.
That
we can't ignore the future. It depends on you and me. Caribbean Sea, it's a part of me. We're all in this together, even if we are apart. Moon and all the swan, tout le monde son. We're all in this together, nous sommes Caribbean. One chance, all that we got. One voice, together we start. Take care, the world where we live. Permite a todos vivir. Tomamos la oportunidad para guardar la humanidad. And I must leave no one behind because we are one climate, one Caribbean. One climate, one Caribbean. Nous en dépendons tous, notre planète Terre. Je n'ai pas imaginé un jour un monde sans vie. We're never losing, as long as we're moving.
Towards a better future, it belongs to you and me.
Let's be persistent,
We'll be resilient.
we're all in this together, even if we are apart. Y todos sabemos que todo lo que hacemos. We're all in this together, afecta nuestro mundo. One chance, all that we got. One voice, together we start. Take care, the world where we live. Permite a todos vivir. Tomamos la oportunidad para guardar la humanidad. And I must leave no one behind because we are one climate, one Caribbean. One climate, one Caribbean. The world as we know it, the sky and below it. Could I never have more wonder? Yeah, with life and all, you see now everything's changing.
But hope is remaining.
And we can't ignore the future. It depends on you and me. Yeah. One chance, all that we got. One voice, together we start. Take care, the world where we live. Permite a todos vivir. Tomamos la oportunidad para guardar la humanidad. And I must leave no one behind because we are one chance, all that we got. One voice, together we start. Take care, the world where we live. Permite a todos vivir. Tomamos la oportunidad para guardar la humanidad. And I must leave no one behind because we are one climate, one Caribbean. We're never giving up the fight. One climate, one Caribbean.
Ray, what's wrong? It's him. He hit me again. Oh my gosh. This time it was worse. He slammed my face in the wall and threatened to kill me. If you or someone you know is experiencing family violence, call 0800 The Way Out. Or you can text or WhatsApp to 672-9628.
Time to wake up. Time to prepare for the day. Time to learn. Time to make a difference. Time to look after yourself. Time to see your healthcare provider. Don't let cervical cancer stop you from unleashing your potential. Now is the time to get vaccinated. Now is the time to get screened. Now is the time to end cervical cancer. For more information, visit us at www.paho.org/endcervicalcancer.
And welcome back. We are joined by our beautiful panelists this morning, and of course, Paul. But the conversation this morning is all things women, and I want to say thank you, ladies, so much for joining us this morning. We will be talking about the challenges, the success, the victories of women, but most of all, we want your opinion. We want to know your experiences, how you think we can improve. And of course, Paul, we just want you to agree.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
I want to open with one short excerpt this morning, and perhaps it could be the starting point of our input. Gender is not about biological differences between the sexes. Rather, it's a social construct. People define what it means to be a boy or a girl, and these social conditionings often expect children to conform to specific and limiting gender roles and expectations from a young age. Each time a woman stands up for herself without knowing it, possibly without claiming it, she stands up for all women. There is no limit to what women can accomplish. Where there is woman, there is magic. And this morning, we are joined by some lovely women, as I said, to talk about it.
Yes.
All right.
So much in there.
So much in there.
In that statement. Yeah.
Perhaps we should start with a temperature check. How's everyone feeling this morning? We're coming off of the heels of celebrating, you know, our official Women's Day, but of course we have the entire month to continue the celebration. How do you feel about yesterday? Did we feel like, you know, it was all about us? Yeah? Yay, nay?
Definitely on social media.
On social media.
I
see a lot of like
Yes.
posts from international and like national where like people were commemorating like influential women in their lives or also just in their country. And I mean, that felt very special for us to see that people are taking it seriously. And I saw posts from males and females.
Exactly.
From my end, I like the post I got or the individual messages I got from men.
Yeah.
Because to me that means a lot. There was a time that men would not recognize that we have an international day, and also some men are still like, why do you all have a special day and we don't? And I try and tell them, because throughout history you all always had a special day. You hug it up and then you decided what happens to us.
Yeah.
So don't get vexed now that we're asserting yourselves. So I really welcome the messages from the males in my life. That made a difference for me.
You know, but that's an interesting point you brought up there, and you practically answered it. But I still wanted to raise it, not necessarily as a controversial point, but as a point of discussion. Why is it important for women to have a month and even a day to be recognized? I just want a woman's
I could start.
perspective.
I look
Go
at
ahead.
it from historically.
Yeah.
You all have to understand that historically we were the property of men. It's not even 100 years since some of us have had the right to assert ourselves. If you look at many movies, like there was this one that I was looking at, Lydia Poet in Italy, where they refused to make her be an attorney simply because she's a woman, and they felt that she didn't have the intellect, although she was the backbone and brain behind her brother's legal operation. So you have to go back to history and see where women have historically been oppressed. And there have been great women in the past in different civilizations, so it depends which civilization you come from. And then I like to trace it in terms of our legal advancement. And there was a time we couldn't own property, we couldn't even vote.
Yeah.
We carried the children, but we couldn't have any claim over them. Absolutely no, we have a total shift now.
Yeah.
Where once we are unwed, those children are absolutely ours. If we are wed, it's 50-50 the husband. Before, whether unwed or wed, the husband had all his say. So many women were stuck in relationships where if they want to be with their kids, they had to be there. And if they left, they were like ostracized from society. And that was just the other day, And when I say just the other day, in 1991, I went to study in Jamaica. And I don't want to offend anyone, so I'll give very vague details. There was a person I worked with, and his daughter got pregnant. And to hide that pregnancy, she was sent off to Jamaica. And that child, when was born, was adopted by someone else. And I only knew because I had to do a favor. And I was shocked. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
you actually hid your daughter because she got pregnant?
Yeah.
That happened just the other day. That's what? 1991. I don't want to remember how old
That's
I
really
was. It's recent.
recent.
I want to touch on what you were talking about in terms of voting, because I was doing some research before the panel discussion this morning, and something very interesting popped up in regards to voting. And I guess this will kind of support what Ms. Audrey was saying. This was taken from a website off of UNDP's website, that is. As of 2015, women in every country in the world now have the right to vote. Wow. The first nation to grant female suffrage was New Zealand in 1893, and the last country was Saudi Arabia in 2015.
Wow. Imagine.
That was only like 3 years ago. I mean,
yes,
not 3 years ago, but it
feels
like 3 years ago.
It
feels that short.
You could, I can't imagine a society, at least where I grew up, that bars women from voting. Like, I can't imagine going to the polls as a man and just seeing only men and saying, all right, we're all here to vote, and we get to decide what happens to us, to our society, and what happens to the women in our society.
That's how I felt yesterday, very pensive, because I am where I am, and then we were speaking, if you go to Toledo, where I'm from originally, there's a different landscape there, and you go to other countries, so it's very different, although we have come a really long way. This is why we still have a ways to go, really, because there are a lot of differences, even within our country, in terms of where women are. I've never... Well, I shouldn't say that. I grew up in a household where, you know, we were treated, boys and girls, the same. You could do anything. I've never doubted that I couldn't do what I wanted to do because I am a woman. But that's my story. That's not everybody else's story. And so for me, the more we grow, the more we learn. I'm very pensive and reflective on where we are and where we have to go, and also where do men fit into this. That's also really important.
So that's actually one of the conversations that we wanted to open with. We did talk about this last week, but of course, I believe this will be a conversation that we will be having for the entire month. And that is, how have women's experiences differ by ethnicity and culture? Just before we started, just before the break ended, we were talking about Belize being a melting pot of culture. So of course, there will be differences. Can we talk about what our ideas or our ideologies are of women in different cultures here in Belize? And I mean, if you'd like, you can touch on outside of Belize as well.
I believe culture and colorism, we don't like to talk about that often, but it is here in Belize, whether we turn a blind eye or whether we discuss it. And I do think that in society, specifically in Belize, we do need to bring that up in the workplace, personal experiences, and the thing is we have younger generations that see that, and so it becomes cyclical. So it's whether we want to address that and break that silence, or we continue for that to happen.
Sitna, I wanted to ask you something, because I know that your work focuses on rural development. So you would say that you are you insert yourself in more rural communities more than anything. Have you observed any differences in how women are treated?
Well, just from my perspective, dealing with rural communities, I already see majority of the rural or local leaders being men. And as myself, as a previous village councillor, I think I was about 21 when I had run for the village council elections in Sand Hill. I was one of 2 females on a 7-member council. And more so, as I look at how village councils elections has evolved from being a part of a council to now overseeing councils, it's still primarily male-dominated. And like I was telling you guys, as I currently embark on my bachelor degree and currently taking a class this semester in gender, and I was just tasked with an assignment of really evaluating how gender, class, and race really affect males and females in leadership roles, community leadership and education in Belize. And I was analyzing just the scope of how, as a country, we're very much patriarchally affiliated. And even with women, when it comes to wanting to take on leadership roles, you realize we're still very much dependent on males agreement, or if they're willing to endorse you or support you. So a lot of times, even in these rural communities, you still see these women take the back burner, and we have men making decisions revolving or involving women. So at the same time, I do see more women like taking the plunge in community leadership roles, but at the same time, we still have farther to go when it comes to women really taking a stand and deciding to take on more roles in like leadership opportunities in these rural communities as well.
I think just that's where I find right now where I'm really pensive, the nuances of that, because as a mental health practitioner, and even with myself, it's the tiny biases that aren't so obvious. I know that you and I, we are equal, man and woman. I know that, but it's the little things that affect, you know, how we value ourselves or how courageous I'm going to be to put myself out there. And that's where I feel and I see it the most. Again, in the rural communities, some of them, I think there's still that sense of, wait a minute, do I even do this? Do I even put myself here? But I think in the counseling room and maybe in the more urban areas, the nuances are not, it's not as obvious. And that's what I'm paying attention to.
And that's the thing, Ms. Martine, because at the same time, rural communities, they're still very much deep into tradition.
Exactly.
So they're used to men taking on that dominant role. And I was just also in my research where it says that women, even in the workplace, even in leadership opportunities, we have to work twice as hard as men. Because at the same time, we need to prove ourselves, despite the fact that maybe we have the same qualifications, despite the fact that we're in the same position, the same role. We have to work the 8 to 5. We're still expected to work the after hours, maybe even on the weekends, just as much as the males. I'm not denying that. But at the same time, we still have additional roles outside of work. And whenever that leadership or that employer feels as if now our personal lives are now, we still have to go home and we have to be mom, we have to be spouse, we have to do all the nitty-gritty of that home life. But at the same time, yet our ability to work is still questioned. Our ability to lead is still questioned because they look at it where at the same time, our expectations are different, you know?
I love the conversation of expectations because that was something that we also touched on last week. But I do want to flow. There are so many things that both of you guys mentioned. And I want to touch on the tradition aspect and the expectation aspect. Women then versus women now.
Yeah.
There's a sense of
competitive.
I mean, I don't know how to put it because when we look at culture and tradition, the idea of how a woman should behave is absolutely different from the modern woman. So can we talk about that? The expectation of women then versus women now. Can we compare it? What are your views?
Well, I would like to add to that. There's, to me, several layers. It's not as clear-cut. When I look at our society and I insert myself in that society, I can see where, from a child to where I'm now, how things have progressed. But one thing that has not changed is the perception of women in the public space. It has gotten worse. And by that I mean young women walking the street are being catcalled. The incidences of sexual assault, be it verbal or physical in the public space, is to me more atrocious. And it has gotten to the point where the assault of women on social media is one of the most demeaning things. So I have seen where when I was growing up, I would be walking the street and it was just catcalling. But now I have to deal with it, that same problem, but through social media, where at first it was only I who felt embarrassed in my little circle. Now I can be embarrassed publicly on a worldwide forum and demeaned to the point where I have met women who want to commit suicide. I have met women who go to the point of severe depression. I have met women who have opted to leave this country. I have met women that have gone through so much because that's the line of my work. So that's one layer. Then I look at the layer in the home. In the home, we have a lot of professional women, but the level of abuse in the home at the hands of their spouses is amazing, or their partners. The level of domestic violence in the home in this country, I suspect at least 75% of households, and I'm only going by my figures, based on if I have 10 clients, out of those 10 women, seven of them, or 7.5, I have had to deal with some level of abuse. So, and that tells you how far behind we are for women. We don't even have a statistical office that compiles all these things and make policy decisions based on that. So in somewhere we've advanced, but we are not keeping up with the reality of where we are as a society today. What we are doing is just addressing what should have been addressed maybe 6 decades ago.
As it comes up. As it comes up, address it as it comes up.
And then there is the woman in the workspace. And that is one of the most horrible one, because not only do they expect us to do more, but sometimes our very own peers, our own women, to advance to another level, oppress other women. I've always said to women, you have not achieved anything unless you've brought someone along with you.
Yeah.
If you have to bring down someone to be better or to have been successful, you really are failure. Your success is when you say, I made it and I'm bringing others along with me. I'm mentoring others. I am sharing what I know with others. And I think we do not have a national psyche of cooperation in Belize. We've been traditionally divided and conquered. We come from a terrible history which nobody wants to talk about and teach in school. We come from a terrible history of slavery, where our women were traditionally seen as sexual objects. We come from a terrible history where they brought indentured laborers. Our Indian women were made to feel superior to the black women because of their long hair and their lighter skin. We come from a terrible tradition where we have mestizo women and different other cultural women, that is the colorism that she's talking about, and it's your role culturally in your home, and at the same time now there's this social pressure as to what you can or can't do. And let me tell you, the simple thing to me is to empower each woman to just break barriers. And I can speak from personal experience, and I can only tell women you have 2 major roles to do. Empower yourself and empower your children. It is us women who have raised sons that are still disrespectful to women. And it is us women who have raised daughters that allow themselves to be treated like less or nothing by their counterparts. So we can speak about all kinds of policies, but it goes back into the home, how we raise our children, how we support them, what we teach them, the values, and so much more. It's not a straightforward issue. It's a complicated issue.
Like I have several things that I would like to add to that, because I would say when it comes to how we're raised in our homes, where I come from a family with, I would say, a traditional dad and a very open and modern mom, and I think it's a good mixture, right? Because it keeps you grounded. But at the same time, I always, like, my mom has always, or my parents always strive for us as their children to push farther, to achieve greater, that as parents, it's their responsibility to have us as their children accomplish more than what they had as, you know, their opportunities. And my mom has always, she's the outspoken firecracker, and I guess I develop a lot of those, like, personality traits from her. And sometimes I believe that as women, we're too dominant for, like, my dad, who is more traditional, right? And he would always say, because of my outspokenness or my ability to be no nonsense, or just, if I feel like I am not treated fairly or women experiences, I will speak up. And he says, you're too outspoken, you're too liberal, you will find it harder to find a partner, because I see women as equal as men. I see, okay, you know what, daddy, yes, you're tired, but mommy is tired too. Why can't both of you go into the kitchen together and maybe prepare a meal? Why can't maybe this instance you help with breakfast? Or just, and it's not to bash my dad, because he's an amazing dad, but just those little gender roles, those dynamics. Those, and he said, oh, you'll find it harder to find a man. And I said, no. First of all, you've raised an empowered, educated, career-driven woman. And at the end of the day, I don't feel like I need a man to accomplish anything. That's one thing. And second of all, when I am ready to find a man, I will ensure, or I will try my best to find a man who shares equal values, who appreciates me, who sees the power that I possess as an empowered female. So that's one aspect. When it comes to experiences with women versus women at the workplace, I can personally say that no job is perfect. But I have had my fair share of experiences where maybe women have seen the drive that you have as a young woman.
And oppress you.
They see your abilities, your capabilities, and they try to oppress you. That's one instance. I have also firsthand been a victim of like sexual harassment in the workplace, where I would speak out to my, you know, like first you just start a job, you're experiencing it, not from the males per se, but just like little gossiping or insinuating that something has to happen. Because they feel as if you and your co-worker maybe has a good working dynamic, a good friendship happening at the workplace, or something has to be happening. Why can't we just be great co-workers? And then it gets to the point where, because that dynamic is there, and because you already are a very vocal person, it then stems from, oh, something has to be happening. And then the gossip starts. And then the whole working environment is gossiping that, oh, you see those two? Something is happening. And then imagine you go and you speak to your superior about it. This makes me uncomfortable. I feel very disrespected. I have more to offer to this company
than serious.
Yes, and it's like you know what? While I know that it's not true, and I know that, oh, it's just gossip, people will gossip, I am not okay with it. So if you're the head, I would very much appreciate for you to put a stop to it.
You know, I want to, not to cut you off, I want to continue that conversation on a topic that Ms. Matura raised, speaking to empowerment.
Yeah.
If we have this general idea that men, for the most part, led in generations back, and that women are more and more now stepping into leadership, then my question perhaps is, what are the sources of empowerment for women in this day and age? More so, what does empowerment look like to you as a woman?
Yeah, I would like to hear from everyone, because then I want to speak about my personal experience. But I'm really interested for hearing from the younger person.
Of course, and so we're going to start.
The bird
you mean on this side?
The younger side. The younger people on that side.
I feel like the word empowerment for me, it goes back to me being true to myself. And listening to my intuition. For instance, as the director of Modern Dance Movement, I am getting a lot of collaborations with different artists from varying fields, men, women, any gender really. And so while it's been very exciting to create and make things that I've never really seen yet in Belize, I also need to stay true to what that is. Like, how does this collaboration or how does this work align with what I believe, in, what my values are, who am I? And so I'm realizing as I'm getting older, I'm turning 30 this year, and so yes, it's a milestone. So only 30 exactly. But you know, as the years go on, I'm realizing that my views change. And I'm accepting it, I'm acknowledging it, whereas maybe in society you may, or growing up, it's instilled in you in the schools that, you know, if you have these beliefs or if you steer from these beliefs, then, you know, it's wrong. So it does take a lot of time and thought process to understand why your views are changing constantly, and just to know that, you know, you're being true to yourself, and I think that really empowers me as a woman.
You know, I want to say, as one of the younger ones here, almost 42, I keep learning, and it keeps changing, and it keeps forming. But for me right now, empowerment means being able to say no. That's really what it is.
Yes.
No to myself, no to men, no to the system, no to the stereotypes, and then to believe and back that up with my actions and my attitude and my everything. So it's really just being able to say, no, I don't agree with that. No, I don't want to do that. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to be inconsiderate of other people's feelings. It doesn't mean I'm just you know, I don't live alone in my world. So there has to be some sense of others as well. But it is just as simple as saying no. And that just goes across everything, because, and I think that comes back to roles where I feel that, as you said, it's layered, but women need to begin to say, well, no, guess what, I can't do that. Or until my partner can help me pick up the slack, I can't do this Saturday.
Yeah.
Or guess what, you know what, I don't have to prove to a man that I am a good leader. You know, like really and truly take it as it is. Now, I understand that that's easier said than done. Right. But at the end of the day, it's for me right now, it's going back to how I value myself. And that's really where I want to see women start to ask that question. And then when you're thinking a certain way, because saying I value myself and acting as you do, the two very different things. Because we know we should value ourselves. If you ask me if I value myself, I'll tell you, yes, man, definitely. But then do my actions and choices reflect that I really am valuing myself? So that's what empowerment means. Never easy, but I'm working on that. No.
Yeah.
Oh, me? She first, I think the oldest one should go last. Since we've heard everyone's age.
Since everybody is saying age,
right.
I am 25 years old. And I believe I'm still very much young, but I've had to mature up, you know. And for me, empowerment stems simply from my personal experiences. You know, acknowledging how your past and trauma really shapes your future. And what impact will you allow that past to have on your present and your future? And for me, I'm very much with implementing no's. I've had to reframe and refocus and teach myself how to not let society's expectations, whether it's mom, dad, boyfriend, extended family, what makes me happy? What makes me acknowledge my self-worth? What do I deserve? And so it's all about saying no's, but also setting and maintaining boundaries. And our society, they're not okay with boundaries. And I've had to tell myself, while society would have been okay with this, and this is the cultural norm, that's not how I want my future. That's not how I see myself navigating. I am a single mom. I have a baby who is approaching 2. What is the future and the present that I am shaping for my life and for her? And so that comes with ending relationships that are not serving me, maintaining barriers and boundaries that are not serving me, and that can be from friendships, that can be from outside family who doesn't support or respect the boundaries that I have set. And I believe that's a strong thing that as a society, because we're not used to it, we're seen as the bad ones.
Well, and can I add there, I feel that what you're saying there, if you don't do that, there's a risk involved. If you do that, there's a risk involved. Choose your risk, because either way, you're going to deal with something. So at least you do what you want.
That's the exact thing I say. If I don't set these boundaries, and I had to really self-reflect, because I do have a history of, like, you know, anxiety, having like depression or the episodes off, and I tell myself, no, not anymore. Yeah. What is making me currently unhappy? What is making me stressed? What is making me depressed? What has me constantly anxious? If this is the issue, or this is what I have analyzed the issue to be, then how do I remove that from my present life? How am I able to be the best mom, the best daughter, the best woman, the best adult? Because I too am also important. It's not about, oh, the baby needs a daddy, so you need to tolerate the man. Although he's a narcissist, he's disrespectful, he's emotionally and verbally abusive. Because also as a society, we don't take emotional and verbal and psychological abuse as something if we're not seeing physical scars.
Right. Yep. So what I'll do, I'll ask you to pass the baton.
Yes, because so for me, empowerment is simply standing my ground, knowing my truth, and being the best version of myself for my daughter and for me. So that's empowerment to me.
Well, I have a different view in the sense that clearly I'm the eldest one here. After being on this earth for 5 decades, 4 years almost, I see empowerment different, and I will advise you all ladies, like when you hit 50, like something just changes in your brain and you're just like badass kick-ass, like who the hell cares?
Yeah.
But
I can't wait to be there.
yeah, it's a level of
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it starts around
I think
there.
it starts at 40 because my mom says the same.
Yeah, 30 is your craziest time. It's the most depressing time. But my empowerment. Yeah, it is. It's the most challenging time in your life, and your happiest time in your life should be when you're in your 20s, and your next happiest time in your life should be in your 60s. And thereafter, you're waiting to go through, into the grave. But listen, what my personal experience of empowerment is. My experience of empowerment now is to empower others with what I've been through. And I realized that growing up, I can quickly sum up in the first 10 decades, I came from a very abusive home where my father didn't focus on education and my mother was subservient to my dad. So I didn't see an example of what it is to be empowered. Then my second decade was fighting against my own father to make it through school. He refused to educate me. And having to fight and leave home at 13 to go work for myself and put myself through school. Then my that's 20. Now when I reach my 20s, it's like one of the worst time in my life. It should have been the happiest, but I missed that youthfulness that I should have had. Why? Because I came from a society where my role was already defined, that I was, upon reaching puberty, to be betrothed to someone, get married, and my future would have been with a husband. And nothing is wrong with a husband. I love men any day. They can be great companions, but the problem is our society is not raising great men for great women like myself. So we're unevenly yoked. It's true. It's true.
It's true.
It's true.
I agree.
And then so in my 20s, it was one of the most horrific time in my life. It's when I also was a single mom. I was in and out of court. I was abused by the system, by the politicians, by everybody, and I went to empower myself in my 30s. That's when I went to law school. But again, I had to fight against everything. And then in my 40s, things started getting a little better, but it was still challenging, but I was finding my way. And then in my 50s, I think I found my way. But I'll tell you what was the common thread throughout it. The common thread is that empowerment means that you have to stand up for yourself in the worst of situations. When people hate you, they will talk about you, they will do everything. But I realized that from the moment I was able to fight back my dad at 9 years old and thereafter proved him wrong, and the only thing I regretted was that he died, not to see that women can be educated, that women can have a career, that educated women are not bad women, because this is the mentality they had. So if we go into the workforce, it's because we'll find a man, we'll get pregnant, it looks like we'll be all over the place having sex. It's like we're the wildest thing.
The thing with it,
but they don't see us that as being more.
It means we become less subservient, and they can't have that. So that's the root of the issue, the lack of control they feel they have on educated women.
And so the other thing about empowerment, having become a mother, was to empower. I'm not empowered if I don't teach my sons to treat women the way I would have wanted to be treated, and to empower my daughter not to accept certain things. So I think I have a great social experiment at home where my sons are responsible for their sister, and my sons are to teach their sister what it is to demand respect from men. They are her first date, her first everything. Now, I know I'm an exception in many ways, but when I'm talking about empowerment, I heard Ms. Craig's story, I heard your stories, I heard your story, but you all have to realize that the average woman out there in this country right now, we are at a rate where our poverty rate is already 53%. That woman out there, she will sell her body if she has to survive, and we will judge her. But she empowered herself by selling her body, because she gets to live another day and she gets to feed her child for another day. So we have to see empowerment, like who are representing them here at this seat? I don't know if you all invited them. No, we're not them. I have met people who were born into abuse, does not even know what it is to sit at the table with a family and have a normal breakfast, men and women. I have met little girls who are far more sexually mature in their thinking and exposure than myself. So I can only empower myself to the extent that I empower the next generation. So empowerment for me carries a whole different meaning now. And I don't want to take up the show, but she touched on something that's very important. Sorry that I said she.
That's fine.
What happens when you become empowered? I don't want to be empowered and the men are not empowered.
Yeah.
And we as women have failed miserably empowering our sons. You look at the news and who defends their son who just did the shooting? The mother.
The mothers.
And who the women who actually say give interviews and say, hey, they're home. I always the home. And I go work and I left at home and and then you find out that she's the one giving him money. Mom, you didn't empower your son.
No, I agree. We can't forget about that part at all.
And then it comes to what do we do to have good partners? This may sound really bad, but I told my daughter, please not stay at Belize and think you can find a good man.
Ooh.
But it's true. We have one of the most chauvinist culture when it comes to men. The most chauvinist that you will ever find. And I lived it having grown up in my home with a father that was like that. And I'm not saying there are not few good men in Belize, you know, there are, but they're taken. They're taken, they can only service so many families. Right? They're taken. And there are men who are far more enlightened and want more, but the other thing they can't deal with, and this is from my own personal experience, no matter how educated a Belizean man is, they just cannot deal with the fact that you may be more educated than them, and if you make more money than them, it's a problem.
It's an ego thing.
And I'm telling you, many of my female colleagues, the younger ones in my legal profession, I really weep for them because if I thought I had it bad, they have it worse.
Yeah.
Because the men cannot deal with that. But what caused that? It's what we taught them at home. So we have all these layers of of women at the bottom, literally at the bottom, figurative and everything, suffering. That for their version of empowerment is different than the middle tier, whose version of empowerment is in between. And I would like to think myself now at the top tier, where I am like, but I've been through shit. Don't think like I reach where I'm at because I have not been through it all. I've been through so much.
Yeah.
But you have to just stay. The focus is always say, I can't live with that. So I just cannot live with that.
We are being given the cue to take a break. And so what we're going to do right now, and a lot of what you're saying is going to be a part of our second half of this discussion. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a break, short break, and we'll be right back with our second half of the conversation. We're going to be discussing equity versus equality. What does that mean for our women? And so what we're going to do, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Indulge the flavor. Go beyond meat. Looks like meat. Tastes like meat. But it's better than meat. 100% plant-based. Rich in protein, 50% less saturated fat, no GMOs, no added soy, packed with benefits and sustainable. Beyond meat, good for you. Good for the environment. Now available in 6 different types of products in Belize. Beyond Burger, Beyond Sausage, Beyond Beef, Beyond Chicken Nuggets, Beyond Chicken Tenders, Beyond Steak, Beyond Meat, distributed by United Distributors Limited.
Electricity is an essential part of our daily lives. We use lights and household appliances every day. Therefore, we must ensure our homes are wired properly. At Benny's, we have certified wires with the right gauges and insulation. BEL certified meter sockets, authentic GE and Square D panel boxes and breakers, which protect the wires inside your home from being overloaded. When wiring your home, avoid imitation brands which can be very dangerous. Give yourself and your family peace of mind using genuine electrical products available at Benny's. Quality and savings.
Do you have information about a crime or a fugitive in our community? You can submit a tip anonymously with your smartphone. Using this program in Safeguarding Our Community also protects your identity, keeping you out of the court system, and could earn you a cash reward. Here is how it works. Download the free P3 Tips app from the Apple Store or Android Market. P3 is the provider of our secure anonymous tip collecting software. Open the app and create a PIN, but be sure to remember that number, then select your location. Next, select the type of crime. When submitting a tip, be as specific as possible. If you have a picture, video or audio that will help officers, you can upload them from your phone. Information leading to an arrest can earn you a cash reward of up to $1,000. Once your tip is submitted, you'll be given a tip ID and password. Check back if your tip leads to an arrest. You'll be told how much you were rewarded and how to anonymously collect your cash.
Welcome back, and we are continuing our conversation on all things women, the challenges, as we said, the victories, but we're steering the conversation into leadership. We were talking about empowerment. Of course, there's never enough time. We do have another segment, so let's soak it up and get everything in that we possibly can, ladies. We have to make much of the time. Okay. We were talking just a moment ago during the break about dating, what dating is like for women, young and older. There were some interesting perspectives on men in Belize. So I don't know if we want to pick it up from there. What do we want to talk about first?
I want to talk about it because I am the one with the most experience here.
Right.
Right? I'm the one with the most experience. And I want to say my perspective. I'll start by saying first that there are some good men in Belize. There are men who were raised really properly at home in Belize. There are. But it's not the majority. And I have to break it down in different cultures. Black men in Belize come from a history of slavery. And I'm not making an excuse for them. But you have to remember these men were never allowed to really have a home. They were used as studs and taken to different farms. And we don't want to admit it. But that trauma, that historical way of being has never been broken. So I find that our Belizean men, our black men especially, come from this sense that the more picnic they have, the more women they have on their notches, the more of a man they are. It's valued. And when people say things like that, when I say things like that, people like say, oh, but slavery, that is so much 100 years ago. And I said, but it has an effect. The same way I'm the makeup of my ancestors, these men are the makeup of their history. Let's look now at Indian men. And these are the ones, we have different types of Indians. So let's look at the Mayan Indian, Mopan Indian, Quechua Indian type men. Totally different perspective too. You know. Not that they're better, but they come from a system where they know that they eventually have to have a family and they will be more responsible. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying in every culture and race there isn't cheating, but it's a whole mental psyche as to how they are.
Open. Yeah,
right.
You're definitely more hidden.
Right. Yeah. Then you go and you deal with the mestizo type men. And they are trained mostly to be providers, to be there as well, a bit like the Indian men. Of course, what has really messed up that too, when they were, to me, they were better off in terms of how they saw themselves as providers, protectors, and person who praised their women. I'll call it the 3 Ps. What has happened, the media has infiltrated. The media has infiltrated. So I go back to Curacao, where I'm originally from, and when I see some of the guys sagging and want to go, like if they're like Snoop Doggy Dogg and use the B word and who they will pump and dump and whatever, and I'm like, okay, things have changed. Yeah. So we cannot see society anymore in the context I saw it 40 years ago. It has changed, and the media has a lot to do with how perspective change. So that is that part when it comes to how our men are. Now when it comes to dating, the truth is some of us women have not set the standard. Yeah. Because we've allowed them to disrespect us in the music. We've allowed them to send me us middle of the night a text like, "Hi, beautiful," or
You up? You up? You up?
No,
You up?
no. the one that I never knew what it meant was YWD.
What you doing?
Is this person like, maybe you know, one of those mistake calls? I'm like, I never took it for anything.
You got one of those.
Too many. But the way to do it, ladies, is to ignore it.
Yes.
You to ignore it, and people say block them. Some of them you have to block because the things they send you is outrageous. But you have to set your standard too. And the thing is, you don't know your standard because you came from a home where standards weren't met and weren't set. You came from so it's like a whole vicious cycle.
Is it that women are, in a sense, forced to set a standard because men aren't setting the standards that's supposed to be set? And this is not to say that men are to overall take the lead in a relationship, but I mean that's,
they should bring something to the table in terms of
they should set the standard, and if we're saying that men are not setting the standard, so now women are forced to come up and lay that
But
out.
before continuing, I want to deal with the next segment of the men, and Belizean men, please don't get offended, but the non-Belizean man. Any Belizean woman who has dated a foreign man will tell you that the experience is far different.
Far different.
And not to be racist, but the Caucasian men, especially European men, they come with a whole different perspective as to how they value women. It's true. It's true. I have met Belizean women who are happily married with these men, and they
I have to defend some of my Belizean men, Miss Audrey. There are great Belizean men, upstanding men that are leading
but they're the
families.
exception, Paul.
Okay.
They're the exception. I'm telling you, it's the exception. And I'll give you an
1
example.
out of 10.
No, 1 out of 100. No. Let's be real. You are want to be real? I have 2 sons. I have 2 sons, so I learn a lot
and
from
I would
them
imagine they're exceptional men, aren't
Well,
they?
I try, because I'm the type of mom, you bring this young lady and say, that's your girlfriend, you better even think you will cheat against her around me. Because she doesn't have to go beat your ASS. I will go beat you. You can't bring her to me and say, this is your woman. No, that doesn't work. And I hate when they're just living with these girls.
Yeah.
I knock them, and say, okay, but that's a whole different thing. But I have a son right now studying in Europe. And I learn a lot through my kids. And my son says, Mom, he's in Germany. He said, Mom, but he traveled throughout Europe. He said, here in Europe, it's amazing how the men are with women. It says it's a total different thing. They don't call them. They actually approach you. They will thinking about date, like they have, and when they're dating, they're dating. Yeah. But also when they're finished, they're finished. They're not hounding you and stalking you and sending out your nudes. And so it's a different culture. He says, Mom, I learned so much from seeing that. He says, I never saw that in Belize. We the men like, why did you get cheated? Like, you know, it says, see, we have a different perspective. And I know Belizeans don't want to hear that. And I know I will take a flogging. But hello, I am speaking from what I have experienced too. Yeah. I have experienced it as a woman. I know what it is, how difficult it is. And that's not to take away from the few good ones. I know that, like, I have my friend, George Tillett, that I've known for, and I worked with him.
Incredible guy, right?
Yeah, but I worked with George Tillett from my one.
He's actually here with us working this morning.
Yeah, but he's an exception. Radio Belize. I mean, if somebody comes and tells me that George is an abuser, cheater, whatever, I have to see that with my own eyes to believe it. Right. And I could name countless other men, but I'm telling you, they're the exception.
And they're taken.
Yeah, and the average culture of women, Paul, come on, you've been in the media and you've been around, and you know I'm telling the truth.
I don't disagree with you.
Because we were talking earlier about our men falling behind now. So what you're also saying is that in the home, we're not teaching our boys. It's as important to teach our boys the value of a woman, how to respect a woman, what boundaries are, all of those things, so we can create.
But it's our fault, the woman. I have seen mothers who say, go wash up. You're only brother shouldn't wash up. Yeah. Or women who know that their son are cheating and hiding it. So women and mothers who are encouraging these things. So, Mom.
But it's like in mental health. The little boy can't cry, the little girl could cry.
Yeah. That's nonsense. That's nonsense.
And it's nonsense.
You see these same women, they want their son to do whatever they want to someone else's daughter. But when it comes to for them daughter now, they have a double standard. But Mom, you created the same kind of men that is out here for your daughter.
Let me just quickly input there just another paradigm, because on the other end now, as we speak about women empowerment, right? there's a lot of, I would imagine, young women that are seeing examples and role models like yourselves beginning to empower themselves and take strong stances in certain situations. But when they step into a relationship, they're not sure how to properly articulate that, or how to properly, how you say, emulate that. No. And so you have women that in an attempt to be a genuinely empowered woman, they instead manipulate situations because they don't clearly understand what it is to be an empowered woman and be fair to men. But instead they say, all right, so for me empowerment, empowerment is to
men are like,
so for me as a woman, empowerment means you bring all your money to me. For me as a woman, empowerment might mean
that's not empowerment.
Right. But you have women that I would imagine that don't clearly
guys, I would like to
understand.
Add something, then I'll put it.
Like for me, one of the hardest points in my life was navigating postpartum and really finding myself outside of being a mom, right? Because now your role as a young woman, a young adult, significantly changes to that of a parent, and now it's like everybody sees you as mom,
and you're expected to act
and I'm expected to act as a mom, but who am I as a woman? Because as 25 years old, I'm still at the pivotal moment in my life where maybe I'm navigating a career, I'm navigating a higher education, maybe dating, and also myself. And my mom, I am very, very grateful for my mom because I have one of the best support systems at home with my baby, right? And she would say, Sitna, now that you've gotten outside of that relationship, let us try not to navigate back there. From day one, right, she says, take time to heal. She says a lot of times we're coming out of these relationships, whether it's you toxic, whether it's the male toxic, and we just jump right into a new one. She says, you're hurting, you've gone through one of the hardest moments of your life, take the time to heal. And self-reflect. Ask yourself the hard questions. Do the work. And she says, when you're ready to date moving forward, set the tone from day one, what you're willing to accept. What are your standards? Acknowledge your self-worth. What do you bring to that relationship? What are you expecting? And when you meet that man from day one, you let them know, first of all, it's not only me, it's me plus one. And if you're not willing to love me and see that child as a part of me, then you need to move along. If you're not willing to have a relationship and put in the work and invest, then move along. Because I'm not looking for a situationship. I'm not looking for a friends with benefits. And I must say, like what Miss Audrey had said, oftentimes it's unfortunate, but as women, if we want to have good relationships where we're valued, we're loved, we're respected, we're seen as equal, it's unfortunate, but you find that more in men internationally.
It's true.
And I can genuinely say from day one, when I met the person that I'm with, I set the tone. And it's not about a manipulative aspect. It's just stating from day one what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept.
And following it
through. And following through. Because even in that relationship, it's not going to be perfect, but communicating. You know what? You said something, and the way that you said it, it could have been done differently. It hurt me. You know what? If you see me doing something, if you see me doing something or saying something that you feel like maybe I hurt your feelings or I disrespected you in any way or whatever, you let me know. Let us talk about it. Let us work on it. Communication is hard with a man from Belize because the moment you say something, you're attacking their ego. You're at, only you have an issue with it.
No, but Paul said something that I want to address, that they sense it's manipulation. And in many ways it is. But let's be fair, and we have the mental health specialist here. A lot of that manipulation, which is true, and it happens on both sides, is that we are a very traumatized society. So we all come with a trauma. We saw our father beat our mother. We saw our mother sit and cry because she didn't know how she'll feed us. We saw our little sister get assaulted by our stepfather. We came up in a neighborhood where there's violence every minute, there's killing, there's shooting, it's normalized. We are a traumatized society. So you see how this beautiful young lady has taken time and advice from her mom.
Yeah.
The average woman out there does not have that.
Yeah,
The
reflection you
Yeah.
do is not being done
Yeah.
by the
Yeah. They equate sex with love.
Yeah.
And they will move from one relationship to another because they're looking for that love and self-worth they never got home. They never got it home, right? Your situation might be different. You may have come from a nuclear home. It doesn't mean that your family didn't have challenges. It just meant that the way your parents dealt with it gave you a better example. You may come from a different situation, but the average woman out there, that's not what they come from. In none of the societies, none of the communities. So what they do, they want to feel secure. The biggest desire, if somebody had to say, what is it that I want most in a relationship?
Safety and security.
I want security. I want that sense of security. I want to feel emotionally secure, financially secure, physically secure.
Yeah.
If a man can't give that to me, then you can't be
And
for
a man
me.
should be able
and
to
a man
provide
should be able to that. But the men themselves are insecure because they have never had a role model of what it is to be a man. And so they don't know how to define themselves. And think about your own situation, Paul, as I speak about this. Think about how you grew up. Think about how you learned things. Think about who taught you to be a man.
I've had to,
you know?
as a young man, I've had to find men going into my 20s, late 20s. I'm 31. But I've had to find men that are role models to exemplify, to learn from, to teach me, because I grew up without a father.
Right.
And for me, that had a huge impact on how I viewed women.
Yes, of
and
course.
even though I grew up with being raised by a strong black woman, I mean, my mother is an example of strength when it comes to women and black women, but still, not having a father did something for my psyche in terms of how I viewed women. And I had to step aside and say, hey, if I want a relationship, and
that's
a
healthy.
solid and a healthy relationship, then I have to figure out how to change my view of women, how to befriend women, and to be just friends.
Exactly.
And date. And those were the challenges, because like you say, we are a society filled with trauma.
I think a part of that is also understanding patriarchy and what it does to the male psyche, but how it also contributes to relationships, to how women are viewed.
But I want to finish the thing with manipulation. So here's a woman now, she wants to feel secure. She's in a relationship with you or trying to get in a relationship with you. She does not have good examples. She doesn't know how to do it. And so she comes to you looking for that security. And she will use her feminine words, anything, to try and get that from you. But she doesn't know you can't give it to her because you never learned it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you feel manipulated because what you want out of the relationship, in your limited knowledge and self-worth and self-reflection and self-understanding, it's still limited. You don't have what it takes to give her. You don't. Not because you don't want to, you never learned it. And you said you're 31. That's a good time for you to decide, okay, can I make it or not? I always tell my sons, before 35, don't go have any picnic. Because your brain, unlike what you said that by 21, our brains are developed. For men, I think it's 31.
You know,
it's just different.
I'm not using myself as an example when I spoke of the manipulation.
I know, but it's a good point, and men feel like that.
Right, a lot of men.
But even the
do
cameraman
feel
shaking their head, they don't know. They haven't had examples of a relationship.
I wanted to just briefly kind of switch the conversation.
You hit a nerve just now.
Very good. I wanted to switch the conversation a bit because I wanted to ask about, I've always wondered how much of a balancing act it is to be a woman and a leader at the same time, given at least my understanding on the basis that women are wired different and have different needs than men do, yet women are called to fill some of the very same roles that in leadership that men are called to fill. What are some of the gaps we see today that for the needs.
Well, one thing I like to talk about is this idea that women are multitaskers. And what we know now from research is that none of us can multitask.
Nobody.
We can only pay attention to one thing. What we are good is we're good at switching. We switch
Right.
from, one glass, two glass, three
Right,
glass.
yeah.
But we're not doing all of this
At
at
the
one
same
time.
time.
And we're not doing it well. And I think because of the way society has been set up, there's this sense, work, life, children, partner, all the things we need to balance as women. And I think that's why for me it comes back to learning to say, guess what? I can't do this right now. I need to take a rest, or I need a break, or this is the reason why I can't do these things, because we cannot do everything. And when we try to do that, it's exhausting. And then that affects even how we parent. How much energy do I have to parent my son and daughter? How much energy do I have to reflect on the needs or the trauma that I may have, right? So I really think it's BS. And I think at some point the demands of society recently are almost, it's as if we're supposed to be unhuman. And we're not. And it keeps catching up with us, and we keep getting
we burn
sick.
out. We burn out a lot.
Jill, let me get Jill in first.
Yes, I was just going to say that word, burn out. And the thing is, in today's society, I feel like we celebrate that we should be constantly tired. We should constantly be
busy.
on
Better
this.
be busy.
No
yes,
sleep.
yeah, team no sleep. We're
Yeah.
constantly celebrating that mentality where really it is okay to take a step back and have that self-care, take that rest. And as if you're a mother, I mean, that's constantly like an issue, like you should never, exactly. So I do think that it's something that needs to change in our society, so that we, like what Miss Martine said, that if we are constantly on this role, how could we're not set to be doing everything at once. We should be taking some aspect of our life at a time. So I think it makes us more productive, more happier beings, more creative, exactly.
So before you talk, let me ask, in the workplace, should there be specific things that should be considered for a woman in leadership? Should the workplace consider specific things to fulfill specific needs of a woman?
Yes.
And what may those be?
Are we talking about periods?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't.
Like for me, right? I am mom, employee, student, partner, myself. So I prioritize my own balance. And I just tell myself that to some extent, everybody just needs to be okay with it.
Yeah.
So you know what? I work 8 to 5. I have a very rural job. So sometimes you work a little later. Sometimes like on this Saturday, I'm working in Orange Walk. But on a regular day, these are the times that I work. I have restarted back therapy because I believe that is something that I need, because I need to work through, like I said, past traumas, just my experiences. So I spend time prioritizing my mental health. I spend time prioritizing my physical health, because when I come home, it's also just me and a baby. So I need to ensure that she still gets the best of me. And if I am still navigating being a student and doing school online, then this is the time that I leave work. This is the time that I work. So when you see I clock off, I clock off. And I navigate now being a parent. I ensure that every evening we go on walks around the block. That's something that she likes. She likes to go on her swing. I spend that quality time with her. Sometimes I'm in a class. Sometimes I have a group meeting that I'm listening to. And sometimes she just cries. And I have to say, you know what, sit. Your baby is literally 20 months. She wants your time. She's been away from you all day. It's not wrong at this point to just shut down in a sense, put away the schoolwork. It's recorded. I can go back to it. And I put away that, I say, you know what, this is my baby. I lay in bed, I hold her, I cuddle with her. At the same time, I'm in a long distance relationship, so I also need to prioritize that. But I think what work and what society looks at me, I'm a mom and I'm an employee. Okay. So you're expected to just do work and then mom, do work and then mom. And so now, because I'm dating somebody internationally and he loves to travel and he loves to visit places, and so it's like I do a lot of traveling along with him. But if I have, let's just say, 30 days vacation days, then you know what? I will occupy those 30 days, not one time, but maybe I wanted 2 days this month. and I put it in a way where it proceeds into a weekend and we travel somewhere. And people look at me, oh, you're a mom, you're moving too much.
Yeah.
But why? I'm a student, I'm a mom, I'm a woman, I'm an employee, I'm a partner. Why can't I take 1 weekend plus two days extra to just go to Cancun this weekend, go and visit Miami, go and do this for Christmas, go and do that. It's like you have certain expectations because you're working, you need to,
you're being a bad
all about work, answer emails at 10 p.m. at night. I will never do that.
Okay, but I want to add to that because again, you're not the average person. What was the workplace having to consideration? I think a good workplace should consider that women become mothers, so you have to make that extra time. You have to make that extra time for them. They become more productive. They would be able to give babysitting services too. What I like in Belize, which is advanced in many countries, is that we also give paternity leave for fathers.
Yes.
Although some of them use it for a drink, no?
Well,
I think it's 7 weeks.
Yeah.
7 weeks.
But the other thing that they need to consider,
I don't know.
no, I think it's 2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3
Yeah.
weeks.
But I think also that in the workplace, one of the things we need to consider is that there has to be sessions in the workplace where we talk about sexual harassment. Because a lot of that goes on. Belize is like a farce in that we have the only country in the Caribbean that has a sexual harassment act, which is toothless. So best we didn't have one. You can't even take the person to court. You have to write a letter to the magistrate, and if the Chief Justice think that it's worth it, then they'll have a meeting to decide if there's anything. There's never going to be a case.
But how do we get women to understand when the difference between being sexually harassed versus quote-unquote friendly passes? Because I think women have come to accept, oh, they tell me about
no, we don't want be
just
extreme. We don't want be extreme. Like in the US, it's extreme. You barely tell someone they look beautiful and it's sexual harassment. No, we don't want that.
Right.
We want to be able to feel relaxed that you give compliments, but there's actually a level of harassment. But I also think that in the workplace, one of the things you need to consider is that we need, and not only for women, we actually need a mental health day. Right now in Belize, you can only get a day off without a sick leave and paper, but if you want for 1 day, after that you have to get more. But we need to schedule out mental health days for everybody because we lived in a more stressed out world. We're a more traumatized society than we accept and realize, and where our employees are least productive when they have all this mental trauma going on in their lives. And we need to also make time and support for people who need to go to family court. And that's for men and women. Because we have a lot of family court matters. And I go to court and many people are worried and they say, I will give up because my employer will fire me. So there's a lot that the employer needs to learn. And there are ways to make up back.
And that's for women and men, right?
Yeah, women and men. Women and men.
Add something to the sexual harassment.
Quick thought. Because then we'll have to wrap up.
Like for me, when I reported after countless times how I felt about the allegations that were made towards me, twice I was told that, oh, it's my fault. I'm too friendly. And then I catch myself, like in that moment, it's like I'm trying to speak up for myself. I'm trying to say that, no, this is not okay. It's demoralizing. And I had a point, Miss Martine, where I was so down that I literally felt like I needed a mental health day. But that's not something that we can apply for. It's not something that, probably they'll say, oh, well, you need to go to a psychologist. You need to get she needs to have a history with you to say this is an actual issue. But after I evaluated that conversation, after I went home, and I said, that response was not okay. Telling me that me as the victim, it's my fault because I'm just too friendly. I am not disrespecting myself out here. I'm not having any relations with a coworker. It's not okay to me coming to you multiple times for you to tell me that, you know what?
It's your fault.
It's my fault.
And
it's
most
not
likely
okay.
It's a female who told you
and that's exactly it. And I felt so downtrodden. I was like, why did you not speak up for yourself? And you know why? Because while I pride myself to be an advocate for women, a lot of times these actual situations, we're not speaking out about them. We're advocating, but we're still timid.
But your trauma gets triggered, and this is what people don't understand. Your trauma gets triggered, and the very vocal, boisterous person becomes a little sheep or a lamb. Because a lot of people say, but how you get raped and you never say anything and you so big mouth? It has nothing to do with that. It's because we're all traumatized. Different things traumatize us, different things trigger us, and different things make us freeze.
All right, so ladies, unfortunately, that time has come where we have to put this conversation to rest, at least for today. But I appreciate the fact that I was able to be here in the midst of all you beautiful ladies.
And you learned a lot.
I learned a lot, and I also believe there is still a lot of good men in Belize. But that's our conversation for another day.
10%, she said.
Great insight. Definitely learned a lot. Sabrina, you want to send us the break?
Yes, I definitely do. It's so sad we weren't even able to cover everything that we wanted to cover. But of course, I encourage our viewers to tune in next week, Thursday. We will be having these panel discussions with women every Thursday of this month as we celebrate women, during the month of International Women. So thank you so much for viewing, for viewing, and of course, thank you so much to our panelists for giving, your perspectives of being a woman. I would have loved to hear your views on feminism, but of course, we would have been here until the evening. But definitely, please come back with us. We will be talking to Pathlight about their scholarship program. Don't go away.
With eCash, bill payment is extremely convenient, and all utility companies accept eCash payments. What's even better? You get to split bills with your roommates, siblings, or whoever you desire. Simply open your eCash app, go to Bill Pay, tap the respective utility company, enter the information, and pay the bill. Then tap the transaction made. Tap Split the bill. Select Evenly. Send the request to who you are splitting the bill with, and get notified when they pay. Talk about making life easy and avoiding confusion. You can split the bill for restaurants, grocery stores, and for any eCash payment you make. To find your next yummy meal, hair treatment, or chill spot, simply open the app and utilize the geolocation service to see nearby businesses that accept eCash. Geolocation and bill payment make life a whole lot easier.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Marian Ali, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes, go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because news is now everywhere, all the time, and so are we.
The last time we visited Miss Francesca Howers was to deliver the exciting news that she was chosen to receive a home sponsored by SMART for its 18th anniversary through the Hand in Hand Ministries housing program. Since then, she has actively been participating in attending Saturday sessions to improve her life skills, cleared her property for its foundation and construction of her home, and has assisted in the construction of a home for another recipient of Hand in Hand housing program. All these activities are to foster a more responsible, responsive citizen in our community.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jim. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
About a crime or a fugitive in our community, you can submit a tip anonymously with your smartphone. Using this program in safeguarding our community also protects your identity, keeping you out of the court system, and could earn you a cash reward. Here is how it works. Download the free P3 Tips app from the Apple Store or Android Market. P3 is the provider of our secure anonymous tip collecting software. Open the app and create a PIN, but be sure to remember that number, then select your location. Next, select the type of crime. When submitting a tip, be as specific as possible. If you have a picture, video, or audio that will help officers, you can upload them from your phone. Information leading to an arrest can earn you a cash reward of up to $1,000. Once your tip is submitted, you'll be given a tip ID and password. Check back if your tip leads to an arrest. You'll be told how much you were rewarded and how to anonymously collect your cash.
And we are back for our final conversation for this morning. And of course, we have our friends here from Pathlight, right?
Good
They're here to
morning.
talk to us about their scholarship, Pathlight Scholarship Opportunity. So let's jump right into it. We want to say good morning to all you lovely folks, but we want to start. What is this scholarship opportunity and what it is about? So who do we start? Right here?
So Pathlight Belize is an organization that focuses on the development of young students, mainly in education. And so our organization has two arms. We have the international arm and we have the Belize arm. Our international arm focuses on the finances, all the fundraising, getting donors and sponsors to be able to sustain our programs that we have here in Belize.
Right.
And our Belize staff focuses on running the program here, recruiting the students, managing their academics throughout the year, and providing all the necessary support services that they need as we move along. So we have been running in Belize for the past 15 years.
Wow.
And we are currently have 225 active scholarship recipients. And these students are at high schools in Belize City, Belmopan, and Orange Walk. Okay. And we also have tertiary students, associates and bachelor's level, in Belize City and Belmopan, as well as IT vet and SET students in Cayo and Orange Walk.
That's absolutely wonderful. I think whenever, you know, there's opportunities for scholarships, that's always something that every person is open to. Families that are otherwise not able to send their children to tertiary schools. I mean, that's great that you guys also provide scholarships for that. I am curious to know, is there a criteria for students to apply? Do they have to be in a particularly low income household, or is it based on their merits in school? How does that work?
Okay, so first let me touch on the point that you made just now about the scholarship itself. So we do provide the financial assistance part, and that covers everything that the school requires that a student pay. So Partlight covers all of that at all the levels that we are currently serving. But our scholarship program goes way beyond that.
Okay.
Because we have what we call a wraparound after school program. And in that program, we have our students come into our resource centers, and they are provided with mentoring, tutoring, counseling, extracurricular activities, leadership training, and just general motivation and support that they need to stay on track and ensure that they are successful through their educational journey. So we go the mile with them,
That's
each and
great.
every one of them. And as it relates to the students who are at our tertiary level, those students are students that we've had from first form.
Right,
And
okay.
when they've reached fourth form, we've seen their potential academically, but they still have that financial need. And so we take them to the next step, and for some of them even further to their bachelor's level. And so that part isn't open to the public. But our recruitment process is currently on, and we are looking for students to apply. Any student who is in Standard 6 is going to graduate by June of this year. And those students would have good academic records for the past 4 years of school, because one of our main criteria is having the academic potential to complete high school within the 4 years. And then our second criteria is the need that the student or the family might have.
What I like about your explanation is it shows that once you bring these students into your community, it's like they become a member of the family, to the point that when you see their development, you care so much that you want to continue to partner with them, and you want to continue to invest in them. So while there may be a part that's not open to the public, that is where you're really showing that these students are now members of our family, and we are caring for them. I want to take it a bit to Carrie Brown, who is a mentor at Partlight. Let's talk a bit about your work, your roles, your responsibilities over there at Partlight, and the impact that you've seen this program have on your students.
So I'm a student mentor at our Belize City office, and every September we receive new students. So currently I have 26 mentees, students.
Under you?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I work with these students in our after school program where we would assist them with assignments, projects. We also have the psychosocial program. We do the tutoring. We visit schools and we do home visit as well to build relationship with parents and teachers so that we can be on board with both, you know, with family and with the school. I have definitely seen a lot of progress when we have the teachers, when we have the parents, and we have us at part, like the staff, mentoring these students. There's definitely great success.
Yeah. So what does mentorship look like? What does a session look like? Do they come in? Do you go out to them? Is it a variation?
Okay, so the students come in from Monday to Friday. They are required, they have certain days that they would come in. So for our first formers, for the first semester, they would come into the office every day, and we would do different activities with them. So for example, on Mondays, we would focus more on assignments, projects. And on Tuesday, we have a session that we call our SFCD, which stands for Social Formation and Spiritual Formation and Character Development. And there we do sessions that would help them in their character, build their character.
Okay.
Partlight is a spiritual-based organization.
Okay, so I saw an image of a graduation. So I'm only trying to get my bearings straight.
Okay.
They graduate as well from the program there at Partlight as they do from the actual school they're attending?
Yes. So a part of our motivational strategy for our students is that we have these celebrations to celebrate their accomplishments. So every semester we have honor roll ceremonies, and they're given certificates for not just their academics but their behavior, their attitude, and things like that, just to keep them motivated.
Incentives.
Yes, exactly. And so all our fourth formers and our students in sixth form, and well, all our tertiary students who would be graduating from their institution at that year, we also have our own graduation that celebrates all of that. We have our valedictorian, our salutatorian, and all of that. And the graduation is also to kind of show appreciation to our sponsors. Yeah. So our students have individual sponsors that they communicate with on a monthly basis, and those sponsors provide financially for them, and they also keep in contact with them, giving them motivational talks, advice, and things like that. That happens through our mentors. So our mentors are the middle person that connects our sponsors to our students. And so at the graduation now, they can come in and they can see, you know, the product of what you've invested in for the past 4 years.
They provide us with books, uniforms. They also, with the evening session, they offer assistance with the mentees that help us with our projects and our homeworks. So it's been a wonderful experience being with a second family.
What class are you?
Yeah. Fourth form.
Fourth form.
Yes, fourth form. Wow. So when did you start with Partlight?
Since 2019, first form.
First form.
First form.
Right. So how often would you go to them, visit and get the help?
Every evening. It's evening. A daily.
Okay. So how do you discipline yourself to do that instead of, I don't know, go out with friends after school and just say, you know what, I know the plan. I sure you had some of them days there.
No, sir. I had like a balance. So therefore, I had like a to-do list on what I should do and what days I should go at the office. So for fourth formers, we go on Thursdays and Fridays. So therefore, in fourth form SBAs and a whole lot of stuff. But I find time for them. So
you guys want to add though that a key part of our program is our leadership program. So our main goal is to educate and develop young leaders to be able to transform Belize. So we put a lot of effort into our leadership program. And Suri is actually a graduate of our leadership program.
Okay.
And one of the things that we try to do is provide opportunities for them to integrate these skills that we've taught them into different organizations and different realms of their lives. And so we encourage them joining student bodies like the peer helper that she's in. Suri has also been abroad as a part of the Youth Ambassador program.
Okay.
And so
Very nice.
she
A
went...
part like the ambassador program?
No. They through the Love
US?
FM,
Love, right,
yeah,
Love
the Love
Foundation.
Foundation, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
All
she
right.
was a part
Good.
of that,
Yes.
represented very well. We're
Yes.
very proud of her, and we are definitely looking to move forward with her.
I know Suri's face is very familiar, but you're famous. You're the party.
So it seems like there's a level of prestige and pride that comes with being a part of this institution, this organization that's Pathlight. Aside from providing the financial support and the resources necessary to make it through the learning institution that you're a part of, you also equipped these students with resources and necessary skills to be leaders.
Yes, definitely. And you said something earlier that speaks to the same point that I'm going to make, that we travel the mile with our students.
Yeah.
And this is how our program has developed over the years. Because initially when we started, it was just a scholarship program,
Okay.
like the other scholarship programs that are currently available
just
in our
give a
country.
scholarship.
You give a scholarship, but then we looked at it and we saw, okay, but there's still the extra support that is needed. Yes, we've paid for school, but the student still doesn't have all the supplies that they need, or they still can't go to school because they don't have uniforms. And so we implemented that part. And then we saw, okay, they go home, but they don't have any assistance at home with assignments and so on and so forth. So the mentorship came in to be able to provide that support. And then we saw, okay, when they're in the schools, they are under the leadership of their teachers, and the teachers are always looking for ways to develop and so on. And so our organization developed an entire second program that focuses on teacher training. So we have an entire department that works with the training of teachers countrywide.
Oh, wow.
Actually, currently our teacher trainers are training all the high schools in Belize on the new competency-based curriculum that the government or the Ministry of Education is implementing. So the partnership is there with that. And then we would go and visit the schools and we would see, okay, there might be a roof leaking or the door is falling off or something like that. And so we developed a third program called the Community Partners Program. And through that program, we provide assistance to the schools to do repairs, build playgrounds, and whatever the school might need that is that we would be able to assist with, then we try to do that. So we really try to cover all the factors that are influenced or that would influence the success of our students. And we've recently, as well this school year, have also implemented parenting sessions in one of our centers, where we're piloting it to see how that works. Because we've been able to see that our parents, and I'm a parent myself, and it doesn't come with a manual to tell you how to deal with your teenagers, your adolescents, and so on. And so we've developed this program where we get our parents to come in and we get professionals to come in and talk to them about coping skills. How do you talk to your child about difficult conversations? And a lot of students feel like, oh, their parents don't understand them and whatever. So we try to build that link so that they can have even more support at home, effective support that can positively influence them getting through this journey.
Do you guys have a quota of students that you give scholarships to every year?
Well, we are constantly trying to increase and improve our numbers. And so we've built our numbers over the years. And so We currently have 225 students that are currently receiving scholarships from us. And this year, for this quota, we are planning to take in 15 new students in Belize City, 15 new students in Belmopan, 20 new students in Orange Walk. And for the tertiary, that will be increased quite a bit because we are looking at trying to provide scholarships for all our fourth farmers who want to move ahead.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
So
as
that's
well our
somebody like
associates,
Suri.
yes.
Yeah. So Suri, what's your plans coming out of high school? You're graduating. Any ideas or thoughts on what you want to do next?
Yes. Actually, signing up at UB for a bachelor's degree in pharmacy. And then I also plan in continuing my service-based project in my community.
Tell me about that. What's your service-based project?
All my service-based project. Well, I did a first service-based project on COVID kids. Well, COVID was around, so I did a project for primary school students who don't have the necessary equipment for the pandemic or to be or to have necessities to
protect
themselves.
So what did you do? Did you provide them?
I actually create the whole package.
Okay.
And then I use recyclable gel fans that I have, and then create my own hand sanitizer. And that was one of my services.
So you have another service project?
I also did another one for the youth ambassador, who I did a leadership initiative where I just have different case studies and teach other young leaders like myself how to, when life challenges come, like how to face them.
Wow,
Very
that's
nice.
incredible. I have one final question just to ask. You've made mention a multifaceted approach to education. Is there yet identified a need for, I don't know, career consultation? Is that a part of your program? Let's say you're leaving Fort Farm, you're not too certain as yet, even in tertiary level education, you're not too certain as yet what you want to do, where you want to head from here. Can they talk to somebody about that?
Yes, definitely. That is actually a part of our program. We do career planning with our students.
Okay.
Actually, when they come in, like one of our very first activities is for them to tell us, okay, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
And so they create a poster and everything with that. We have them look at, okay, what do you need to do in order to get to this? And so when it is that we're doing our mentorship, then the mentorship is geared with that in mind when it is that we're providing educational advice and things like that. Okay, and we also reevaluate, okay, is this still where you want to be? Are you changing your mind? Do you, we help them to build, write resumes. We help them with interviewing. They do mock interviews and things like that. So
Very
we
nice.
definitely, that's definitely a part of our program.
All right. Well, how can we apply, and when is the deadline?
So our application recruitment process opened February 1 and is going to close on April 19. And so, like I mentioned, all Standard 6 students who is in good academic standing can apply and just complete the application package. We have them on our Facebook page. We've delivered application packages to all schools so students can get them from their schools, and they can also pick them up at our offices in Belmopan, Orange Walk, and Belize City.
All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for joining us, and we look forward to hearing all the success from the graduates. Congratulations to you in advance as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
So with that, we're going to take a final break, and then we'll come back for wrap-up. So stay tuned.
Find for Smart Share Plan and save big. Whether you're a small entrepreneur starting up your business, a student on a limited budget, or a family trying to save, this is the plan for you. With unlimited SMS, calls, and data, we help you save. Get up to 5 lines for as low as $30 per line monthly, only with Smart. Sign up today at any Smart showroom or sales manager countrywide. So get your business going, share more memories with friends, and be ready for the day with Smart.
If you are ailing due to a chronic disease and are left permanently invalid before retirement age, you may want to check if you qualify to receive invalidity benefit. The invalidity benefit exists for persons who are unable to continue working due to permanent illness. To qualify, you must be under 60 years old, must be sick for 26 consecutive weeks and certified to be medically unable to perform any type of work, must have at least 5 years of paid SSB contributions and at least 5 paid within the 3 months leading up to your illness. If you do not qualify for the invalidity pension, you may be eligible for the invalidity grant. Want to know more about invalidity benefit? Visit our website or contact any of our offices to have someone assist you. Also, be sure to visit our Facebook page and give us a like to stay informed. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Hola usuario de eCash, la aplicación eCash está disponible en español. Cambiar el idioma de tu aplicación de eCash de inglés a español es rápido y sencillo. Déjame mostrarte cómo se hace. Primero, abre tu aplicación eCash. Introduce tu PIN. Toca el icono More en la parte inferior de tu pantalla. Selecciona Security. Selecciona Language. Y luego selecciona Spanish. Vuelve a introducir tu PIN y ya está. Tu aplicación de eCash está ahora en español y puedes seguir disfrutando de tu cartera digital eCash. La aplicación eCash de Belize Bank te hace la vida más fácil.
And we are back, wrapping up what I would say is an absolutely successful Women's Day discussion, Paul.
I love that I was here. I know, yes, last week it was you and April, and that was a great conversation. I love that our producer decided to switch it up a bit and throw a man in the midst of the discussion, because who would have been there to ask the questions that men have, and to now I won't say defend men, because I'm not a defender of men, but to give the perspectives also that men have. And so, but I appreciate the vulnerability of the conversation, the honesty and openness. I learned so much. I had so much more questions to ask.
I know. That's what we were saying. I truly believe that we did not have enough time.
Yeah.
And
so next week maybe we just do the whole show.
Yeah, next week we'll just, until the newscast, we're just going to go straight into it. But I want to say thank you so much to our viewers for being a part of the discussion with us. I want to remind you that you can drop questions on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube page, or you can be a part
of the discussion.
We want to know what you think. Maybe we missed something. So thank you so much for joining the conversation, and we encourage you to come back next week, Thursday, and the week after that, where we will be continuing these panel discussions during the month of women, advocacy.
Yeah, and then in our final conversation, of course, Sabrina, we had Pathlight here to discuss their scholarship program. And anytime Pathlight comes on to talk about their program, I'm always encouraged 250 students currently under their program. And we're not talking about those that have already benefited and have left the program, and then now they're looking to add on an additional 50 plus students to this program. And they're not only supporting with funds, but they're also walking alongside these students throughout their educational journey. And I think that's a huge plus.
Absolutely.
Sponsoring, donating to the schools for repairs, as well as training for the teachers and the parents. I mean, such a holistic approach. I love what they're doing there, and I want to say kudos to them. But of course, if you have a birthday shout out, if you have any questions, or if you have any concerns, you can always drop us a line at our email at oye@channel5belize.com. But of course, you could also catch us live every single morning, weekdays, on our Facebook page at Open Your Eyes BC. And for our highlights, which we post throughout the day, you could catch our highlights on Instagram at OYE Belize. But you know what? This is a time when we say goodbye. But you could join us tomorrow again, where you open your eyes
to start your morning right.
But until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
Goodbye. Peace.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.